Hello, Blues, and welcome to Inside the Tower. Today, I will be discussing Everton's finances. We'll be looking at PSR and how that affects our football club. For those who are a bit unsure about PSR and don't know exactly how it works, I hope I can explain it in a way where it becomes a little bit more clearer and you get a bit more of an understanding at the end of this video. So, PSR, what is it? How does it affect our club and what does it stand for? Well, it stands for Profit and Sustainability Rules, and these are financial regulations implemented by the Premier League. Now, all 20 Premier League clubs get to vote on this, and they all voted to keep PSR within football. It's there to limit the losses a club can occur over a 3-year period. What does that mean? 3-year period and losses. What does that actually mean? Well, it starts again this season. So for the 25-26, 26-27 and 27-28 seasons, over them 3 years, you are allowed as a club to have a deficit of 105 million. So come the end of that 27-28 season, if you're minus 105 or less, you're within the rules. If you go over that minus 105 million over them 3 years, you'll face obviously penalties like Everton did and points deductions. So the aim is to keep clubs from going under and making sure that they're financially stable as well and they only spend within their means. How does that work then? So it goes off your revenue as a club, okay? And we'll get into a little bit more detail of that. Whatever you generate, you can spend. It's irregardless how much your owners have. So we look at Newcastle, for example. They're the richest club in the world. They're literally owned by a country, and yet they can't spend all that money because of PSR rules. Okay, but let's rewind before PSR. Let's go back 20 odd years when Roman Abramovich took over Chelsea. Okay, there's no PSR then. There was no final fair play as such, and they could go out and spend what they wanted. Okay, they could go and buy the league effectively. A few years later, Manchester City come along. They got bought out, and then they went on to buy every single decent player and go on to win leagues and Champions League and so forth. They effectively bought the league just like Chelsea did. But now it's all governed and regulated. So is it fair? Do I agree with it? No, I don't agree with it. And the reason why I don't agree with it, because the so-called top six and bigger clubs have a greater revenue stream because they've been given years and years and years of being able to build their club up because of what happened previously. And it was luck of the draw. You know, if you get a good owner that comes in and wants to buy you and spend the money 20 odd years ago, the chances are now you'll have a massive revenue stream because your club is known worldwide. Okay. Now, it's not fair. Life's not fair in general. And how does this affect Everton? So we've got new owners. We've also now got a brand new stadium. So surely that's going to generate money. Yes and no. Okay. It's not as black and white as you think. Okay. I've got some figures here to sort of give you an example of how much Everton will roughly earn this year. It's all subjective because things can change during the year. Okay, we haven't gone through the whole transfer window yet. We may generate more funds by selling a player, but it doesn't look like any of our players are going to be sold. So whatever money we've got, we have to be really careful. So let's break it down. Again, these are estimations. They're not fixed figures. Okay, so let's look at Everton's. Okay, incomings. The Hill Dickinson roughly going to generate match day revenue of 43.7 million for this year. TV rights, generally over the last few years, it's been in the 120 million mark. We've got it down as 129 million. Okay. Stadium naming rights, well, that is a factual figure. That's 10 million for this season. Castor kit deal, 20 million. Stake.com, the share sponsor, obviously this is the last season they'll be with us, that's 10 million. The sleeve sponsor is around 1.5 to 2 million. And again, now projected kit sales, so it's not a guaranteed figure depending on once the third kit's released and how much we're going to generate through kit sales, but we've got an average of about 10 million. That brings it to a grand total of 224.2 million, there or thereabouts. That's how much we're going to generate alone from this. Obviously, there's a lot of different deals that I haven't mentioned, but I'm not going to mention figures that I can't 100% guarantee or give an estimate to. So we're looking around 224 million. Now, the projected outgoings, okay, this is with the current player signings that we've got with Barry, Anzu, and also Travers. Okay, wages is roughly looking around 54.1 million for the year. Obviously, we've signed Barry for 27 million. We've signed Anzu for 8 million, and then we've signed Travis for 4 million. So all this at the moment comes to a grand figure of 93.1 million. So after the incomings and outgoings at this moment in time, we're looking at around about 131 million profit. That's how much we've got so far. And that's an estimate. So when we talked about Everton having 150 million pounds to spend on transfers, that's roughly about right. Okay. Now that 131 million that we have sounds great, but that's also player wages that we've got to take into consideration. So if we buy a player, we've got to get it right. The wages have got to be right. And that's where the stumbling blocks come. So a lot of people are saying, just spend the money, overspend this season. It doesn't matter. Get the right type of player in. Again, that's difficult because then it could cause problems in year 2 and year 3. We don't know what's going to happen in year 2 and year 3. That's assuming that we're going to progress and get better over the next couple of years. So if you want to spend 500 million this season and buy loads of great players, that's if they want to come with us. That's a separate matter. And we spend 500 million and we're only getting 224 in, then we're 226 million in debt, and we're only allowed to be 105 over a 3-year period. So we'd have to recoup, another 200, 120 odd million. We'd have to recoup back to make sure that we're within that. And over a 2-year period, you're roughly looking 50 plus million each season to recoup that. So it's all well and good going spending the money and facing potential fines and points loss, which is going to be detrimental to our club and the model. We don't want to do that as a club. We've been through that and look how bad it was. So we've got to be sensible, and we have to be sensible. Now we go on to the transfer side of things, and people say, well, just give the players what they want. But that's not going to work either anymore because a lot of clubs can afford decent wages. And when people complain saying, well, the stadium's going to generate this much money, we're going to have loads of money, it's not black and white. The stadium won't start generating. We're going to have an extra 12,000 seats compared to Goodison, right? And the corporate packages and the more money, yes, it's correct, we're going to earn money from the stadium, but it's not going to be straight away, because it's going to be year 2 and year 3 when our stadium's being used for gigs, being used for boxing, being used for the Euros and so forth. That's when the money will generate. It's not going to happen overnight. And I think people just need to be a little bit patient with it and understand how it is working. We've got money to spend, but it's not a shed loads of money. And when it comes to transfers and our finances, we have to be really careful. And it's going to take a lot of time for us to get back to breaking into the top 6. It's not going to happen over one transfer window, a true transfer window. It's going to happen over a couple of years. And I think by Moyes talking and what he's saying recently is that it's people have got to sort of lower their expectations, and because we're not getting these transfers in that he thought we would. And there's a number of reasons, because other teams are in Europe and whatnot, and they can offer the same sort of wages, and you've got to sell the project to these players. And unfortunately, all these players that we're after at the moment have seen how badly run we have been for the last number of years, and we've been down the lower part of the league. It goes back to the ownership again, how badly run we were. So it's going to take time for people's perspective to change on Everton. And I think the fan base, us Evertonians, need to realise that and go, okay. And that's why I'm sort of expecting mid-table next season. I'll be happy with. That doesn't mean I'm not ambitious as a fan. I want us to be pushing and going for league titles, but I'm also a realist, and I also look at the finances and look how football works these days. That's not gonna happen. Okay. I'd love to be proven wrong. I'd love to us to finish in the top 4 next year and we get Champions League, but can I see it happening? I highly doubt it. One, the financial side of things. Secondly, the squad is not good enough to get into the top 4 at the moment. Moyes worked wonders back end of last season. What we've lost a lot of players, and now we need to rebuild and rebuild with the right players. Whether we get the targets that we're after, we'll have to wait and see on that one. But Blues, I hope this has given you a bit of an insight, and let's not be impatient. Let's bide our time. Slowly, and we'll get there and we'll build our club where we're meant to be. So yeah, let's have a bit of patience. Thanks for watching again. I hope it sort of give you a bit of a clearer picture with PSR and our finances, and look forward to us again on the podcast next week, where me, Adam, Liam and Rich will be discussing transfers and Everton's greatest team in the Premier League era.